Hello everyone. In this video today, I would like to share about the concepts of value of deviation, residual value, degree of freedom, and R square. So, what is the meaning of deviation? What is the meaning of residual? And what is the meaning of degree of freedom? And what is the meaning of R square? Okay. Now let's discuss about these all things. I have two axes. This is a y-axis and this is x-axis. In x-axis, the x-axis representing the effective engagement in learning mathematics and cognitive engagement in learning mathematics of students. And the average value of this cognitive engagement is goes like this on the straight line, or we can represent it y bar. Y bar is the average value of cognitive engagement, and the actual data point for the cognitive engagement are these, or we can say these are the value of y. Now, if I take the difference from the actual data point to the average value of cognitive engagement, then we can say this difference is deviation. This difference is deviation. So we interpret like this: deviation is equal to, or it can be represented as y minus y bar. Okay, this is the concepts of deviation. And what is the concepts of residual value? In the same case, this is the cognitive engagement and this is the affective engagement. This is the affective engagement and this is the cognitive engagement. Representing by y-axis, and effective engagement representing by x-axis. And I have a different line here, not as a average line, it is a trend line or a prediction line. And here are some data points. These are the actual data points are scattered here on this way, on this way. So the difference is difference from the actual data point, the point to the trend line is this red straight line, which is indicating the difference between the actual data to the trend line estimated data. So we can say these are called, we can say these are called residual value. These are called residual value, where mathematically we can represent as y minus y hat. The y hat is the point of estimation where we can find the value of y hat in this line. So the concept of residual is difference between the actual data to the estimated data. So these are the concepts for residual and deviation. Now let's talk about the R square. If the value of R square here is equal to, if the value of R square here is equal to let's say 80%, okay, let's say 80%, or let's say 60%, R square is equal to 0.606013. R square tells us that 60% of the variation. R square tells that 60% from, I'm taking the value 60% is multiplying this value by 100, and approximately near about 60% of the variation 60% of the variation, 60% of this variation in cognitive engagement, in cognitive engagement is based, is is based is is based on the variation in on the variation oops VRIATION on the variation in affective engagement. Here we can see clearly the relation between the cognitive engagement and affective engagement is accounted by the 60%, or the 60% of the variation in cognitive engagement is based on the variation in affective engagement. The R square tells us about this concept. R square. Okay. Okay, now let's talk about the degree of freedom. What is degree of freedom, or how we can understand degree of freedom? Uh, let's talk about degree of freedom. The degree of freedom. In shortcut, we can say DF also. If this is x-axis, sorry, y-axis, and this is x-axis, this is x-axis, this is y-axis, and this is a trend line, this is a trend line, and here I have some actual data point is here, is here, is here, is here. Now we can say that the all actual data points lies on the trend line. So here the degree of freedom, we can say degree of freedom is equal to 0. What the meaning of degree of freedom? And if R is square, in such a case we can say R square is equal to 1, strongly relationship, or we can say 100% of the variation in cognitive engagement is based on the variation in affective engagement. Now let's take another example. This is the line for cognitive engagement, and this is the line for affective engagement. And if I have a trend line here, and the actual data points are lies on this way, so we can see here only two datas, actual datas are not interlinked, not fall into the trend line. That's why we can say that degree of freedom is equal to just 2. Now from this figure and from this figure we can predict the meaning of degree of freedom. If the actual data are stick on the trend line, then there is no degree of freedom. If actual data, how many actual data are free from the trend line, that is degree of freedom in terms of regression analysis. This is only encountered in the regression analysis or by the help of residual value, which is exploring here by this trend line. So if R in such a case, there is the relation between these two type of engagement is not 100%. If the old data lies under the trend line, then R square be 100%, or the 100% of the variation in one variable is based on the another variation. But in such a case, in the second figure, we can say that these two values are not fall under the trend line. So we can say the value of R square is 0.8014. then we can say that only 80%, only 80% of this variation based on the another variation. These two, cognitive engagement and affective engagement, they have only based on the 80%, or 80% of the variation in cognitive engagement is based on the variation in affective engagement. On this way, we can talk about the concepts of degree of freedom and R square. Now let's take another example. This is also cognitive engagement, and same as this is affective engagement, and we have a trend line here. We have a trend line here, and we have a actual data point here, 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 actual data point, and here I have 6 actual data point. These all 6 actual data points are not stick on the trend line, so the degree of freedom is 6. Or for such a case, if the value of R is equal to, can we guess what's the value of R square became? It's very small value, is 0.1324. We can say only 13%, only 13% of the variation in cognitive engagement is based on the variation in affective engagement. So on this way, we talk about the value of R square, degree of freedom, deviation, and residual. On the basis of y is equal to b naught plus b1 x y, where this xi is independent variable and this y is dependent variable. This is independent and this is dependent. So in our all case, the cognitive engagement is dependent variable and the affective engagement is our independent variable. Thank you very much for watching, and hope you can follow these concepts in your real practice. Thank